is that Jesus commanded his disciples to die for their enemies. He doesn't have to do things that we did.
What kind of loving being would command its followers to die? Committed followers of this program to die? Would that make me a monster?
Yeah, well, yeah, because you're not God.
Listen to yourself. No, when this call is over, go back and listen to yourself. It's like every time you try to come up with a new excuse, and it's so painfully bad.
I don't understand why you're laughing. You're like, really.
It's a nervous laugh.
Yeah,
A nervous laugh.
you have to understand that essentially what you're saying is this God I believe in is so abhorrently horrible that anybody displays even a small number of the characteristics that I've admitted to or engaged in the behaviors that I've admitted that he engaged in, that I believe he engaged in, then I would find that person utterly reprehensible and they would be deserving of punishment.
And then if you want to say, well, I believe on faith, that's cool too, but just know faith is a weird thing as well.
Because why? Because they might protect you, because you're afraid of them? What conceivable reason are you holding to standards that you yourself are admittedly saying are discussing it at a court?
You can't do that.
Yeah. Well, because he deserves it. You know, he's God. He's the creator.
Because he's God.
What religion is right?
No, he didn't.
Everybody thinks the religion is right. If you believe in Allah, your religion is right. If you believe in Jesus,
If I have children, are they my property? Can I do whatever I want with them?
No, your children are not your property.
And if I created you, my plaything that I can do whatever I want with, and does that make it right?
Yo, what's up?
So now that we've actually, and you've been wonderful, and you've been honest every time you acknowledge that you made an argument, and we knocked it down, and we keep doing this, and you're going to walk away, and you're going to continue right on believing. And I can't wait to hear what excuses you come up with next time for your belief. But one of these days, you're going to wake up and you're going to go, maybe instead of making excuses for why I believe this, I should actually seek to find out whether or not I have good reason to think that it's actually true. Because if this is one of the two main differences between the two of us, is that if you were correct, God would probably continue to believe. Not morally superior to the God that you describe, and so are you. Behold to anybody, or otherwise,
Mike, you trying to
need to make excuses. Especially embarrassing when I don't have any good reason to think that it's true. If I had started up a program where I was like, I think Christianity is a lie. I'm going to worship Satan, and it's not the Satan from Christianity. I just picked that name out of a hat. And he is a monstrous God who is very real and is going to destroy us all. Well, maybe you can just go with the Cthulhu thing. Hey, maybe I should be the lucky first one eaten type of thing. I'm going to worship this God so that I don't suffer as much as everybody else this God's going to destroy. Someday you're going to have to say, do I have a good reason for believing this? That's going to be the only thing that matters on that day. If you find out that you do have good reason for believing it, that's separate from whether or not that being is good and deserving of respect or worship. If you find out you don't have good reason for believing it, you're going to kick yourself for making excuses over and over for things that you know to be immoral.
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to call me. I really appreciate it.
he was following Facebook. He wasn't trying to argue or be a drunk.
You called out.
He just was the media. We'll call back next week and be like, y'all were right. Yeah, he's smart. He's going to change.
I mean, next time you go to church, you're going to really listen now.
You're going to go to church that Sunday, and that Monday when he wakes up, he's going to be like,
Okay, so let's do Jonathan.
I don't think this shit is right.
he's going to change. You can tell he's an intellectual.
But there's this one black guy who called in one time and said he's a prophet, and then he said he predicted, well, he prophesied Kobe Bryant's death or some shit like that. And it's like, God gave you a prophecy of some random celebrity's death, like that shit don't even. I mean, what does that prove? What kind of? I mean, what value is that?
And he's already dead, so where's the proof?
No, it wasn't. No. It wasn't Kobe Bryant. It was. He said he predicted XX Tentacion. Yeah, he said he predicted his death, and he said, oh, I predicted that some rapper would get shot. He was like, bro, that's not even a fucking prediction. What are you talking about? That's not a prophecy. That some rapper would get shot and wearing a jacket. Okay.
Is the single most dead concept in all of theology.
Unless he came out on camera like a few weeks before that nigga died.
Yeah, but he ain't called his name.
Is therefore malleable, like my personality, what I like, what I don't like, what my memories are. All of those things are. You can manipulate a brain to change its preferences, to change what it likes, to change its memories, or to lose its memories. And none of those things. There's no mechanism and no evidence that what makes me transcends my life. And it
You should use Wikibot. It's a browser extension that automatically compares Amazon prices to stock.
Someone who identifies as Holy Rebel in Jacksonville, Florida, you're on with Matt and Shelley. How are you?
I'm good. I've been looking forward to this, man.
Okay, what do you got for us? It says here that you're a prophet, and there's something about current evidence for the existence of God.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want to start by saying this. I sent you an email a while back, and I was basically, it was last week. I just discovered you guys last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I've been losing sleep ever since. I discovered you because this is my ministry. Like, you still look for evidence, correct?
Always.
Yeah, okay. So,
did I reply to your email?
Yes, you did. I believe it was John or something of that matter, but
okay.
This is the core of my ministry. I don't only just have evidence, but I also teach people that listen to what I preach. I teach them how to get the evidence on their own also, and it all comes from off the Bible. King James version might I add.
Okay.
But man, I am excited.
We might have a big problem because the Bible isn't evidence. The Bible makes the claims.
I got you. Well, check this out. Let me show you.
Okay.
Now, I've watched like almost like 100 of your videos. I'm telling you, like I actually kind of.
I just found your channel last week. He said I almost watched 100 of your videos.
Like so. Well, we don't want to get clear on topic. And I'm going to show you guys.
I don't know what that means. All right, I know what it means. I don't necessarily know what you mean by it. So you can either explain that, or you can go for the evidence.
The shows are like 2 hours long.
I'm explaining
So
to you.
you watch 100 episodes, 2 hours.
It's going to happen.
How does this revelation happen? Do you hear a voice? Do you get an image in your head? Do you just get a feeling? Do you open a book randomly and it falls on a prediction? What?
Good question. No, sir. It comes through prophetic dreams when I go to sleep.
Okay.
All right, guys. What we're working on right now is still this commission, but I took a break from the water. I actually have some skin colors on my palette, and I've been working on the face earlier today, and so in a few minutes I'm just going to jump right into some brushwork and try to add some more details to the skin tones on this piece. I think it's looking nice. I really do think that my client is going to be happy with the finished product.
Here and there, all the time.
How can you tell the difference between your regular dreams and the dreams that are prophetic?
Well, they are very clear. It's almost like I wake up in cold sweats because it's almost like I was there in real life. If I wake up like flipping out, things of that matter, I know like wow, that was a prophetic vision. And I'm gonna tell you, let me show you the difference on how God used me to do it. And I've been doing this since I've been getting prophetic vision since 2011.
Okay, I got a couple quick questions. Because Shelly had asked how you can tell the difference, and you basically described that it essentially feels different. That you wake up and you're aware that. So let me ask a couple quick questions. Do you keep a dream diary?
Yes, that's exactly what I want to.
Cool.
I do. And as soon as not only that, like only the prophet, only the one that comes strong like that. Let me tell you what I do.
Sure, if you.
I get my phone when I wake up and I record it and I send it to my Gmail. That I can get it proof.
Sure. So you have a dream. You record what was in the dream. How do you tell whether or not they've come true, and what percentage of them come true?
Okay, well, let me show you how it works. I don't get them all the time. Can I give you a backstory and let you know how I got to this point?
Sure.
Because me and you a lot similar. I received Christ in 04. Okay. Now before I received Christ, I was a country boy out smoking, drinking, getting high. I smoked the lace blunt before all this and that. But one thing I remember telling God when I got saved, I said, God, let me tell you something. I'm going to give my life over you. But all of that fake stuff that I saw growing up in the church, all that hallucinating, I'm not doing that. I need to really see your power because when I was over there getting high and drunk, it was a supernatural experience. So my mindset was, now that I'm over here in you, I'm not going to, there's somebody going to lay hands on me, I'm going to fall, none of that, no. I need to see the real power of you because if the devil's real, and if that was real over there, and I never hallucinated and getting high, I'm not going to do it over here. So I received Christ in 04. From 2004 all the way up to 2011, I did the church thing, just like you mentioned before. I went to church, studied for ministry, I even went to Bible college. But I never received the feeling of the Holy Ghost. And one thing, me and my wife hit rock bottom, we were basically broke, thing that matter, and God revealed to me. He said, Terrell, I want you to drop all that prosperity word that you heard, all those things that you could think of, and I want you to focus on the commandments of Jesus Christ. He said, read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. When we got serious about that, within that same week, is when God started giving us prophetic visions. And that was in 2011.
So how did he tell you to concentrate on the commandments if it was before the vision?
What it was when we started reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So we started right there in the book of Matthew.
Hang on a second, Rebel, because there's a couple things clear. What Shelly's asking is, if God speaks to you through prophetic dreams, how did God speak to you to tell you to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John before you were getting prophetic dreams?
JF is here. Kurt Mountain's been winning mastermind championships. Oh, Joe, since 2009, you want to ask him about a championship?
I believe God revealed it to me in prayer. You know, the thing is
in what, sorry?
In prayer, but
I think He reveals me in prayer. Yeah, I feel that, you know, in prayer, we feel that God speaks to us and things of that matter. It's not like solid, like I can write it down, but my evidence is going to show that God spoke to me because, let me jump to it.
Okay.
There's a shoot that took place down in Florida, in Parkland, Florida.
Yeah.
Right? Correct? Are we both aware of that?
Yes.
That took place in Valentine?
Yes.
Okay, God revealed that to me months before it happened. There was a rapper by the name of XXXTentacion. He was shot and killed down south of Florida. He was shot in his neck. God revealed those specifics to me months, like 6 months before that happened. Once again, like I told you, I sent my stuff by Gmail.
What were the specifics? What were the specifics that were revealed, and how could we possibly verify that?
The specifics is, let's start with XXXTentacion. Are you familiar with this rapper?
I've heard the name, but I don't know him.
Well, yeah. He's a well-known rapper from out of Florida. Well-known. He's TMZ top, all that. But let me tell you what happened. Now, I didn't reveal everything. I put the short version of that vision up. Because, like I said, the KJ was going, I'll tell you this. If I put everything up that I saw in that vision, I may need security for me and my family. I'm a regular guy, and I'm not going to really play those games. But
well,
let me tell you.
No.
He showed me he was going to get shot in the neck.
Okay.
And I put that in that vision.
And where is this recorded so that people can verify that you got this prediction before the events?
My YouTube channel is Holy Rebel Movement.
Okay, and you have a video up. You have a video up before the Parkland shooting that specifically says this particular rapper is going to get shot in the neck.
Right. I got it all up, and I got another part. These are parts that you don't want to see. I got another one. You pretty much should look at it real closely.
Well,
I have a cousin. That passed away.
You don't have to give.
Police officers.
You don't have to give three.
I'm excited. You got it. Yeah, you got it. I'm very excited, man.
I get it,
like
but
I say, this is what so yeah.
There's a number of problems here. Number one is, obviously, I'm in the middle of a show, so I can't go out and verify that your video says exactly what it does. But if God revealed to me that Shelly was going to get shot in the neck, why the fuck would I not go and save Shelly from getting shot in the neck?
I'm glad you said that. And let me explain this to you. Now, let's look at how God gives prophecy, okay? Now, let's look at, you're very familiar with the word, with the scriptures. Let's look at, like, Genesis 37. Joseph was given prophetic visions, but they were specific and symbolic. Watch. So the thing is, he was talking about the sheaves in the field, but his brother's interpretation was, hey, look. So when it all played out, he was.
So yeah, that's called interpreting after the fact.
Right. So what I'm telling
So in order for something to be considered a prophecy, it needs to be specific. It needs to be answerable by a single set of circumstances. It can't be something that people are working towards, and it can't be interpreted after the fact. So if, for example, a month before the shooting, you posted a video that says, hey, I got a prophetic dream from God last night that this particular rapper is going to get shot in the neck in the next month or whatever, that would truly be impressive. But how do you know how you got it right?
I'm going to tell you why. Number one, God had revealed to me that it was that actual rapper. He just revealed to me that it was a rapper / actor that was going to get shot. Okay,
whoa, because a minute ago I asked you if your video specifically said this rapper is getting shot in the neck, and now you're saying that the revelation you got was that some rapper or actor was going to get shot.
No, I said rapper / actor. He's a rapper and an actor at the same time.
Okay, but see, we're already way deep into the bullshit here, because if I say a rapper / actor is going to get shot, that covers a lot of ground. And if a rapper gets shot, I can claim that as a hit. And if an actor gets shot, I can claim that as a hit. And if a rapper... No, this is just a fact. This is just a fact. That...
Show me a rapper that got shot in the neck and died.
You're not paying attention. I'm sorry.
I'm asking you. Show me a rapper that got shot in the neck.
That's not relevant to what I'm saying. That's what I mean when I say you're not paying attention. I'll try it again. If I
put it for money, or entertainment, or do you really want to answer? Do you really want evidence? Because I'm giving it to you.
No, you're not. That's what I'm trying to explain. That's what I'm trying to explain, but you're not paying. Let me try this again. If I made a prediction that a rapper / actor was going to get shot in the neck,
right?
Did your prediction include a time or a place?
It included, in this vision, I saw him, he was wearing a jacket. Now, this happened June 18th.
This is not my question. I'm asking...
all the specifics and what I
don't give a rat's ass about the jacket. I'm asking a specific question.
You're trying to make money, man. You're trying to make money.
I do this shit for free, dumbass.
Okay, well, don't you get paid to go do your appearances?
Yes.
You guys, Molly here. I'm here in Chicago. I got done with a 3-day event. Hanging out with Emma right here, and we're basically talking about.
Okay.
Now, are you going to actually answer the question that I asked?
You weren't Holy Ghost filled. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Correct. I was not Holy Rebel. Stop.
And you watched 100 of his shows. You watched 100 shows and decided that he was genuine and called in. And now when you're hearing the answers that you don't want to hear, you're saying it's for the money. So be honest. Be genuine.
No. What I'm saying is he got the same mind I have. I'm like, God, I don't want to play the games.
I'm asking you questions, and you're not answering them. You're answering other stuff. I asked you, in your prediction about a rapper/actor getting shot in the neck, did you include a time?
Well, I didn't. I don't need time. Did Joseph
only
time in his wish? Did Joseph,
okay,
in the prophecies Joseph delivered, did he ever be to the time?
No, and you know what? I don't accept that as prophecy either. That's the point I'm making. If you're not going to give a time, then it's...
Reprobate mind then, sir.
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, look, I come in love, man. I don't want to fight you. Can we at least
ask questions and get answers so that maybe I can show you why I don't accept that this is prophecy?
Go for it.
If I make a prediction that a rapper slash...
This guy has said this shit to everybody, and everybody he said it to agrees with him and believes everything he said, so he just assumes that I'm going to call his show and tell them the same thing that I tell everybody else, and it should be obvious that they couldn't even question me, because I'm going to tell them what I tell everyone, and no one can question me. And if they do, they're wrong, and Matt just asking simple ass question. This motherfucker cannot even just answer. No, he can't.
He been lying since the jump, though. Even when he was saying that shit about God, and he's like, well, how'd that happen before you?
Oh, I prayed. I prayed. I think he gave some of me a prayer to read them, to read those. Okay, bro.
You're going to get shot in the neck, and don't include a time frame.
Okay.
That if it happens in a year, I was right. If it happens in a month, I was right. If it happens in 3 years, I was right. If it happens in 5 years, I was right. What are the odds a rapper slash actor or a rapper or an actor, which is all the different ways that you can spin that, gets shot in the neck at some point?
Due to the specifics.
No.
Like I said, I got a lot of stuff.
Okay, stop. Due to the specifics is not even remotely close to an answer to the question I just asked.
But like I said, you showed me a prophecy in the Bible when any prophet told you the time.
That's why I don't accept prophecies in the Bible. How hard is this to understand? You're pointing to shitty prophecies. Stop. You're pointing to prophecies that I consider to be shitty and not prophecies, and to say that they're in the same category as yours. I agree with you.
So check this out. I have another prophecy. My cousin was in a situation where he wrote the store with a hammer. And all of my prophecies, they get backed up by local news. I got the links under my videos. Holy Rebel Movement, once again.
You know I predict things on stage all the time.
I understand that, but
okay.
Sorry, did you say you have...
Can you hear another prophecy? Can you hear another?
He in it for the money.
He went and he attacked me around the store. God, this prophecy must for you. You'll see my dates and everything. He robbed the store. And the police located him. It was in the middle of the night. He went and attacked the police officer with a hammer, a house tool. He went and attacked the police officer with a hammer. He missed. The police shot at him, missed him. He jumped in his car. He sped off and hit a tree. Head split through his shield and he died. God revealed that to me months before. And you go check that prophecy. He revealed to me even how he was going to have a house.
Why didn't you try?
What specifically? Holy shit.
What?
If you had a prophecy, how come...
I
tell you what, I let you say your prophecy, and the second we had a question, you are immediately interrupting. If you want to do, you better fucking stop, or your prophecy about getting hung up on is going to come true. Kelly had a question.
I'm so sorry that happened to your cousin. That was a really awful tragedy. And I guess the first thing that came in my mind is if I had a prophecy that I really believed in, that I thought was possibly going to happen, I would do everything I could to try and prevent that. Did you do that? Did you just make a video saying that was going to happen and not try and stop it? Or did you try and stop it?
No, I'm telling you, God never revealed to me that it was that specific cousin. He just revealed to me that a cousin of mine was going to get in a situation. He was going to have a house tool in his hand. And he was going to be running from a group of individuals, and one individual with an AK-47 and he had a house tool in his hand while his phone went down.
Okay.
I'll tell you that's exactly what happened. You can read it in the news story right in front of my
I don't need to read it. That's the thing. Why is God revealing useless information to you that you can't know anything about until after the fact?
Let me show you. Let me show you. In John chapter 14, 15, and 16, Jesus talked about, he said, if you keep my commandments, now this is where me and you went wrong when it comes out to the church thing years ago. He said, once again, if you keep my commandments, he said, then I'm going to pray to the Father, and he'll give you another comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, the Spirit of truth. And he said, the Spirit of truth will teach you all things, which will give you all the interpretation you need, because you all got a lot of questions.
Okay, so call back when you're taught all things.
And he said, no. And he said that was a reference for you, because I know that you all have a lot of questions. But if you get Holy Ghost still, he will teach you. He'll give you the answers. But like I said,
I hear this from.
Say he will reveal to you things to come. That's the prophecy part. That's in John chapter 16.
Except that
he will reveal to you things to come.
So Matt was trying to give you his requirements for what would be a valid prophecy. And what would constitute something that counts as a prophecy rather than a guess?
You can't say it's from God if I can fucking duplicate it.
You can't duplicate. Okay, go ahead. Put a prophecy out. I don't know with actual specific things that you can expect to happen.
I'm hanging up on you in 10 seconds.
Absolutely.
Does that count as a prophecy? Does it count as a prophecy? It's specific with time. I'm asking.
Well, you're doing this for money. You're doing this for entertainment. I just gave you proof. Have a good day. I knew you were doing this for entertainment.
No, you didn't, and that's why you called.
No, you didn't, and that's why you're trying to run away, because you don't have an understanding.
I'm not hanging up.
Okay, you're on hold. I haven't hung up, so you're wrong. If you'd let me finish, I was pointing out that I could say, as I did, I'm going to hang up on you in 10 seconds. That's its prediction about the future. It has a time, and it may or may not come true. How can we tell the difference between you getting some vague hint of a message that after things happen, you interpret as if God gave you a message? How many of those messages come true? What's the percentage? I understand what you were saying, that if God gives you a message and you are convinced later on it comes true, this will convince you that you're getting a message from God, but it's not and should not convince anyone else any more than if I make a prediction at a magic show that shouldn't convince anybody else. Okay, whenever I ask a question that tries to get to how do we tell the difference between you felt some vague message and later interpreted it specifically, and then we want to get drilled down to how we can tell whether or not this is a prophecy, and even if you were correct, we still need a way to know that it's coming from God and not from some other source. Every time I ask a question about that, you just start talking over me and then say I'm in this for the money.
You disrespecting me, man. I didn't start this, but I actually planned.
How is he disrespecting you?
Look, you can call me after the show. We can be friends. We can talk more off air.
I'm not interested in the friends thing. Why are you not actually answering the questions that are asked?
Because you're saying, Trill, you're saying, Holy Rebel, if God didn't give you a date, these things are going to happen. It wasn't from God.
That is not what that is not, stop. Listen to me very fucking carefully. That is not even that is not even remotely close to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's I'm not saying that it's not from God. I'm asking you how you can be confident that it is from God. There's a very different thing. I'm not saying this person is innocent. I'm saying, why are you convinced they're guilty? Me asking you to demonstrate the reasonableness of your belief that you're getting prophetic message from God is not in any way me saying you are wrong, that's not from God. As a matter of fact, if you go back and listen to this entire call, neither of us ever claimed that you were wrong about what the source of your thing was. You just couldn't handle being asked the questions, which is why also you brought up these distractions about Matt's just doing it for money. If I'm doing it for money, I should quit and find something else because this doesn't pay me. But, so, I've talked about prophecy a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that you've mentioned prophetic ideas in songs, and you were talking the other day, a great story about music being your religion. But if there are newspaper astrologists,
yes,
there's the Don Edwards, the speakers to the dead people. Then there are people who get prophetic dreams. If God had a message for you and just gave you a vague dream that a month and a half later some event happens and you're like, oh, I had a dream about this a month ago.
Yeah.
What would your takeaway from that be?
My takeaway would be that, I dream about a lot of different things and I don't really remember them because I'm not thinking about them. But then if something happened in real life that made me remember one of my dreams, you have that, whether it's about a major event or not, something happens during the day, you're like, oh, I dreamed about that. And I don't think, oh, I had a prophecy, I had a vision. I just thought, oh, that thing of the many millions of things I could possibly dream about was in my dream and also coincidentally happened during my day.
This is something, it's like the James Randi Educational Foundation had the $1 Million Prize for years. And if somebody like Holy Rebel could actually do what they said they could do, then the first thing that would happen is they would agree on a test protocol. And something just off the top of my head that we could potentially try would be, okay, every time you have a prophetic dream, you write down every single detail that you have in that dream. And then when you think it's answered, an independent panel of judges will judge the accuracy of this. The problem is, let's say I have 10 prophetic dreams, and they don't have time frames on them.
Hi, my name is Christine Kazmar. I'm known as the Digestion Doc. And
so something happens, and it seems like it's one of my dreams. Then I could say, I've had a prophetic dream. And then if I were asked, well, what percentage of your prophetic dreams have come true? Well, right now it's 1 out of the 10, so it's 10%. And I'm like, hey, well, how good of a success rate is that? Couldn't that be coincidence? Well, the other ones might come true too. And because they're open-ended, we have to wait forever. You have an unfalsifiable proposition. There's no way to say, oh, I had this dream and it was wrong. It's always, God answers prayer. It's just sometimes he says later. God makes prophecies. He just doesn't tell you when they're going to happen. And that is almost definitionally useless. No wonder he couldn't go, save. I'm not going to tell you, one of your cousins is going to die. One of your cousins is going to attack a policeman with a hammer, but I'm not going to tell you which cousin. First of all.
It's kind of cruel.
It is. It puts you in this position of, existential dread about what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure that if God came to me and said, one of your husbands is going to attack a police, or one of your husbands. I got loads of husbands. But if I was a message from God saying, one of your cousins is going to attack a police officer with a hammer, I could probably narrow it down. Like I've got a lot of cousins, but I could narrow it down to, a couple.
I didn't even think that. I was just like, I will to every single one of my cousins.
Yeah.
Don't fuck around.
Family meeting, I got a message from God. One of you's about to fuck up big time. And so the thing is, the problem with the prophecy is that, let's say that you did gather all your cousins. Then you get to say, God gave me his prophecy, and my cousins never did this because I went and told them. So the purpose of the prophecy was to prevent this from happening. But that's not. And to his credit, he wasn't saying that was the purpose of prophecy. The purpose of prophecy is to show him that he's right with God until God's revealing stuff. But if God's revealing useless information, and things that are open to interpretation, I just don't.
He had a lot to prove. Firstly, that, his prophecies were valid and verifiable, and then the next step of who is sending those prophecies. Why is it God? Why is it the God of the Old and New Testament?
How do you know it's not Doctor Who?
How do you know it's not the devil?
Grabbed a time machine, came in your bedroom at night, held up a little piece of psychic paper that gave you the dream to tell you what was going to happen. It's one thing, and I've mentioned this before, as somebody who does mind reading, mentalism sort of things on stage. I can make predictions and do tricks that seem impossible to people who aren't in the know. So the question I have to ask myself is, somebody made a prediction and it came true. Did it? Was it truly a prediction? Oh, it was in a sealed envelope over here, in full view the whole time. Okay, but did it change? Was it subject to interpretation? There's lots and lots of questions that we have to ask. And religions, Christianity in particular, have mechanisms that allow them to avoid this, like thou shalt not put the Lord thy God to the test.
Yeah.
If you can't put God to test, then you can't ever have a warrant to conclude that God is reliable. This is, in another video I was talking about this last night, something I'm working on, the fact that I can't know what it's like to be in somebody else's mind.
Yeah.
And if God is perfect and I'm not, I could never have any reason to reach the conclusion that God is in fact perfect. All I could ever do is say that people say God is perfect. It's like, here's a calculator, and I'm not very good at math, so I have no way of knowing if the calculator's giving me the right answer or not. And if you tell me this is a perfect calculator, and when I disagree with the result, that's because I'm a flawed being, I have no way to counter that. And yet I'm still in a position where I don't know if the calculator's accurate or not. I just have to take it on faith. That, to me, seems like a really, maybe that case for a perfect calculator, but not for a God.
Because you can verify it on another instrument.
Yeah.
But there's only one God.
But if I was God, then, I couldn't even demonstrate to somebody that I was perfect. Like, I'm a perfect being, and you're imperfect and broken. How can I possibly demonstrate to you that I am in fact perfect without make you perfect as well? Because if I don't do that, you could always be wrong about whether or not I'm perfect. It's weird.
Yeah.
Something else to listen to?
Saad in Pakistan, welcome back.
Hey, man, how are you doing? Good to meet you guys. We talk to you again.
Are you going to donate $1,100 right now?
Right
they're staying in front of me, just like brushing off their shoulders, and I'm being trash talked here. All right. Anyway, we'll get to the call because that's more important. Thanks for waiting.
Sorry for your.
No problem. Well, I wanted you first in the audience and all of you guys. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be on you. Before we start, so I also wanted to personally apologize to you, Matt, for how things ended last time. So I hope you're cool.
You don't owe me an apology at all. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're apologizing, but you don't. You're talking about what you're convinced of and what you're not. And I pointed out where something that you're, we're kind of trying to apologize for was actually repugnant. Unless you've changed your mind and are now convinced that there is actually a problem with having a 9-year-old become betrothed to a grown adult, unless you've changed your mind on that, I don't even understand what good an apology would do. If I've convinced you that that's a bad idea, well, then I would understand an apology.
Honestly, so it's become a very controversial subject, so I'm not really an expert on that, and I do not go there.
You don't need to be in... No.
It's fine. We don't need to make it about that.
I'm not going to try and make this whole call about that again. But that's a cop-out. You don't need to be an expert to come to the realization that it is morally repugnant to betroth a 9-year-old girl to an adult. If you're not expert enough in morality to recognize that that's a problem, then your lack of expertise on morality is the only thing that should be discussed. But I'll set that aside because you want to talk about something else.
Yeah, I mean, we could always touch on that later because there's so much, especially when it concerns hadith, there's a lot of discrepancies even in what's known as the...
No. It's really simple. Is it morally permissible to betroth a 9-year-old to a grown man?
I guess in today's day and age, it's not. I agree with you there.
And what day and age was it, and why?
I really don't know. Maybe the customs of that time were different, and maybe I'm not even sure. That's something that I'd rather not talk about.
Yeah, I know you'd rather not talk about it because you don't have an explanation, and it preys upon your mind that you could in fact be wrong about this, and that is a problem for Islam. That is why. This to me, if I found out that the God I worship was okay with betrothing kids to adults, I would be spending my time on nothing else until I came up with an explanation for that.
Hey everybody, Kurt Molly here. Just finished a 3-day workshop in Chicago. Just met Becky here, which is great.
Yeah, that's a good answer to that.
But what did you spend your time on? Let's continue.
Well, I felt like, in the past few weeks, since, we've been, since the show, since my last show, conversation with you, I've spoken to a few friends and I kind of went on a journey of my, kind of rediscovering myself in that time and age. And I kind of felt like, it's throughout my life, even though I've been raised Muslim in Pakistan, and I've traveled over the world, I've seen and experienced many different people in many different cultures. There's a lot of things going up in Islam that I appreciated about it. There's a lot of things that I felt like phony scholars and phony teachers would tell me, and I would disagree with them. So I was always questioning a lot of things that were supposedly part of my faith, but then later on I realized they weren't. And I can tell you why, for me, the reason why I'm calling, why I feel like it's good to have belief system and organized religion, and why, because, it's kind of gives you a code of life.
We went through last time you called, where your basic argument was praying 5 times a day and having the structure of a religion provided people with a structured life that was beneficial to them. Did I in any way suggest that that wasn't the case?
No,
okay.
That was,
so, but my only concern is whether or not the religious claims are true, not whether or not they provide a benefit. I'm perfectly willing to accept that a religiously structured life, an externally structured life, certainly benefits some people. There are people who are incapable of structuring their life without help from somebody else, and so they'll rely on a religious structure. They even rely on Secular Humanist Manifesto to help structure. They rely on their work to be the foundation that structures and guides their life. They may depend on a partner to provide that sort of. None of that is relevant at all to whether or not Islam is true, because that structure exists within Christendom, within Hinduism, within self-help gurus that, make millions of dollars standing up telling, prisons? Some people are going to do better in prison than they are out. That is all completely irrelevant to whether or not the underlying claims of the religion are true, right?
It's true, but don't you see that throughout history that a lot of people, it's interesting when I research a lot of when I did a lot of comparative religious studies, and I read books by Karen Armstrong called The History of God. It's a very interesting book that you should read if you have the time. I realized how Islam has been the fastest growing religion. It's surprisingly why a lot of people. Look at Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, all these guys. They were impressed by the faith for some reason.
I don't care. I don't care. The truth of a religion is not impacted in any way by the number of people believe it, how quickly it spreads, how confident they are that it's true. None of those things are relevant. It's not impacted in any way by the structure that somebody gets out of it, or the personal well-being and benefits that they feel they want to attribute to their religion. All of these things you're raising are completely irrelevant to whether or not the religion is true. Do you have anything that speaks to the truth of the religion?
Well, one thing we both, Matt, you and me, and can agree on is that I've tried to find, through my life and even recently, to try to find some sort of scientific evidence that could, at the end of the day, the foundation of all religions, whether it's Islam, Judaism, Christianity, any of the monotheistic faiths that are very popular, is the foundation belief that there is God, right? That there is a creator in the universe that is true and that revealed that sent revelations to prophets, and then these books came, and certain people part of the world believe and didn't believe, certain sections believe and don't believe, and they constantly argue with each other which is right. So obviously the one thing that I have a hard time with you is figure out on a scientific or any sort of empirical way that God truly exists. Now, one of my friends did mention something called God, something Well, now, I'm not really an expert in physics or quantum physics, so I really don't know how much of that stuff is true. But, you know, there are arguments that people will say all the time. And, you know, you've had different callers.
I want to make sure I'm understanding. I want to make sure I'm understanding. Are you saying that you and I agree that there is not currently scientific evidence for God or evidence for God that should compel?
Unfortunately, I'd like to say I would love to believe that there is, but only reason why I believe that most people, or well, including me, believe in God is because it's part of our belief and it's blind faith.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
So you're admitting that you believe something without good reason. Why are you bothering to talk to us? Because I'm only going to be convinced by good reasons.
Well, I want to ask you, how can you prove a supernatural being? The problem is that
I don't think you can. I'm on record repeatedly pointing out that I know of no way anyone could ever confirm supernatural action or causation in any way. But that's not a problem with my standards of evidence. That's a problem with supernatural claims. Just because you can claim something and somebody doesn't know how you could demonstrate it's true doesn't mean that the problem's on their end, because it may not be true.
And presumably you could pray to the God and find out how to do it.
How do I prove that there are Earth-like descendants of alligators on Alpha Centauri, or a planet orbiting Alpha Centauri? I can't prove that. That doesn't tell you whether or not it's believable.
Listen up. Buying ads online, this is going to be a very important video for you to watch.
Well, I feel like, you know, there's one way I feel like people have kind of experienced what they would essentially call God, and I feel like I've kind of experienced them that way.
Me too.
It's very true.
Me too, and then I recognized that I had no justification for attributing my experience to a God. What justification do you have for attributing the experience that you credit God with actually being God? You've already acknowledged you don't have that information.
What information do you know about Sufism? Have you ever read anything by Rumi?
No.
Rumi is the famous poet philosopher.
No, I know very little about Sufism specifically. But I can tell you this: if Sufism had reliable evidence that would allow somebody to show the supernatural exists, we'd all fucking know. It'd be on the front page of every paper. It'd be the Templeton Foundation would stop investigating Christian Parent, and they'd be going after Sufis. It would be Nobel Prize worthy. There's nothing that you can point to that some Muslim scholar wrote that is going to be able to confirm supernatural causation that the whole world would not already have known about. Or at a minimum, the scientific community.
There would have to be a really good conspiracy that they hit that.
I mean, well, you can't have a good conspiracy if Saad knows it, because he's getting ready to tell us. So what is it that confirms the supernatural?
You know, honestly, that's good. In my opinion, I feel like you know, you need, honestly speaking, you know, if we just look at the fact that philosophically, you know, I mean, I don't know, I've always felt like, you know, when you meditate, like the previous caller said, and when you meditate, and especially the Sufi way of doing it, I've been doing it recently, and, you know, I feel like you certainly elevate yourself to a very higher plane.
No.
I feel like you...
I don't even know what higher plane... I don't even know what higher plane means. That is language that people use to describe things that they can't really describe. Hey, you know how when you're having an orgasm after 12 hours of tantric sex, you know how that makes you feel like you're on another plane? I could say that. And it would make it, yeah. You know how when you drop acid and you sit around and you stare at cartoons on TV and then they appear to come to life and you get this euphoric kind of shucky feeling? I could say that too. But it doesn't mean I've reached a higher plane. It just means that I'm talking about something that is indescribable, and I'm using whatever clergy language I have access to. But I don't know what higher plane means. And I don't know that anybody has actually ever reached it.
I guess it's some sort of spiritual high. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be sidetracking here for a bit. Okay. And I don't know if anyone here is a fan of this, and I think you mentioned it last time too on your show. The best high I feel these days is when I smoke hookah, the shisha, the water pipe.
You go, boy.
You guys should.
That's cool. I haven't had that high. If I were to have that high, would it teach me what higher plane and spirituality means, and would I come to an understanding of God, or would I just look at it and say I was fucking high?
Funny thing. The funny thing is, I'm saying it half jokingly because it's possibly true that the hookah is so popular in the Middle East.
Yes.
It's very possible that Muslims invented it, and maybe they were getting a buzz out of it, and maybe they were experiencing God.
Yes, and it doesn't just apply. It doesn't just apply to your religion. If you look at Christianity and you look at the Book of Revelation, John of Patmos, who was on an island supposedly full of mushrooms, is having these visions that make no sense. So much so that when they were putting the Bible together, Revolution, not the Beatles album. Revelation almost didn't get included in the Bible because there were some Christians who felt that it read like nonsense. It's all this metaphor. I mean, it reads like an acid trip. It reads like a mushroom trip for a great portion of it. Now, does that mean that Christianity was founded on visions from drugs? Not necessarily. Certainly can't rule it out as a possibility. When you talk about, for example, Paul in Christianity talks about the people who saw Jesus after he was risen. This came up during the debate, and I'll talk more about it tomorrow. But it's like, first he appeared to Mary Magdalene, the 12, and then the 500, and lastly, then to James, and then to me. Well, that's Paul making a claim. I have not heard from the 12, Mary Magdalene, the 500, or James. And now I'm just taking Paul's word for it that all these people all saw Jesus. But Paul describes his experience of meeting the risen Jesus as he was blinded and heard a voice on a road where his companions didn't see anybody. Now, doesn't that sound a lot like, I don't know, a schizotypical break from reality?
Epileptic seizure.
Aren't there countless medical conditions that might account for that? And if he's my primary source, and he's the source that's telling me about these others, that's a problem. And similarly, I have no idea what Muhammad was smoking when he decided to transcribe the Quran. I don't know if he was smoking anything. I don't have any way to investigate this. I don't know if what he saw was real. I don't, all I can look at is judge what I'm told from history, and there's no single historical document that has ever or could ever confirm supernatural causation. That's just not the way demonstrations work, because at that point it's all a story that somebody's telling, a story you can't investigate.
You have ample stories of that sort of thing, and they're all fiction.
Now, I'm not offering. I'm not saying, Islam is garbage because it's all a drug-fueled hallucination. I'm not saying that. I'm just given all the possibilities. I don't know how anybody ruled that out. And
that speaker blinks out sometimes. It's the weirdest thing. It's so stupid. Yo, Penguin, what up, yo? I'm working on it slowly but surely, man. I've been working on this thing forever. Really had to put some hours in this weekend. But I'm about to take a break anyway, guys. I'm getting hungry again. I'll probably do some more painting later on this evening, but I might not stream it. Got work in the morning, so probably just try to get another hour or two in off camera. I want to try to get this thing finished in the next couple weeks.
any of them are correct, right?
reliable evidence. It's all blind faith, and some people are comfortable with it, like I am.
Well, okay, why would you be comfortable with blind faith? I know that you know that blind faith can lead you to things that aren't true. So blind faith is not a reliable path to truth. So don't you care whether or not your beliefs are true?
Well, I do, because at the end of the fundamental reasoning behind my faith is La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, that there is no God but God and Muhammad is the messenger. That's the creed, Islamic creed. So if I believe in that, then everything else has to be true too. But this is what I believe in.
So you believe Jesus was the Son of God?
No, I don't. No, Muslims do not believe Jesus is the Son of God.
I know Muslims don't, but you just said you had to believe everything, and that's the problem with faith. In the Quran and the Hadith, then why can't you also exercise faith with regard to the Bible and just accept Jesus? Because aren't those on equivalent footing? You just demonstrated and noted that you don't have the evidence that would show you which one is correct, and so you're just taking it on faith. Well, I can take either one of those on faith, right?
It's true. Okay, let's assume number one.
Hang on. If I can take both of them on faith, both of them can't be true, right?
Well, you read the Quran. You can decide for yourself which one makes more sense to you.
No, that's not what I asked. Here's two religions. I could take either one of them on blind faith. They cannot both be true, correct?
Well,
answer the fucking question, bro.
No, that is the way to look at it. Come on now, let's be honest. Christianity and Islam cannot both be true, correct? Because one of them claims that Jesus was the Son of... both of them cannot be true, correct?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have two religions. One of them, at least one of them has to not be true. They could both not be true. But
exactly.
I could accept either of them on faith, right?
Yes, you can.
And that means that faith is not a reliable path to truth, so I would need something else. So what is the something else that would make Islam reasonable and Christianity unreasonable?
The funny thing is that unresolved mysteries of the universe. I wish there was a way that you could,
Me too.
God would appear and show everyone.
But here's the problem.
We're having this discussion, but maybe this is a good thing that we are. It leads to some really interesting phone calls.
Here's the real problem. You said you care whether or not your beliefs are true. And if you truly care whether or not your beliefs are true, then it's incumbent upon you to come up with a mechanism to distinguish between those two and all the others, but we're just starting with those two. And if you cannot come up with that mechanism, then the only rational position is I cannot accept either of them because I don't have sufficient reason to distinguish between them. And yet you simultaneously claim that you care about whether your beliefs are true, and yet you're just going to go ahead and accept Islam on blind faith. Do you see the contradiction there?
Well, not necessarily. Well, that's a really good point. My reason for believing Islam is just when I was in school, when I was trying to actually get my question answered from God, and I spoke to a teacher of Islamic studies. He told me that everything else in Islam is based on reasonable logic, according to his and my opinion. And but the only thing that that there is Tawheed, is blind faith. Tawheed basically means belief in one God. That's the only thing. Faith. Whether I don't know.
Let me say something about faith, and that is, I consider it a good way to be wrong, and the reason is that of all the different claims you can make, most of them are going to be wrong. And so, since faith can support anything at all, you're very likely going to be led to the wrong conclusion from faith.
If humanity, you have to track Monday.com. Monday.com is a platform to track every...
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
And this is why when somebody tells me that they care if their beliefs are true, and then they turn around and say they're willing to accept something on blind faith, I know that they're not being honest with me or honest with themselves. Because if you care about whether your beliefs are true, you cannot accept things on faith, because faith isn't a pathway to truth. Faith is a pathway to being wrong, as Don pointed out, more likely than it is to being right. Like, if I pull out a dollar bill out of my wallet, and I look at the serial number, and you could take it on faith that the number is 8675309, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're almost certainly going to be wrong.
Yeah,
it is. Tommy Tutone and Jenny don't lose the number, but
I'm a big 80s fan. Just to let you know, I'm a huge I grew up on the 80s. I am a huge Knight Rider, Airwolf.
Okay. But if I told you that I had a dollar bill that had 8675309 as its serial number, do you know that I'm wrong?
Could be wrong.
But am I wrong?
I mean, see,
but am I wrong?
See, man, let me put it this way.
But
I
is
think
he
the best way to
wrong?
ask your question is, for example, like you brought about your parents, and you talk about people who we necessarily call or love from their family and friends. I'm friends. I have really good friends, and I have faith in my parents because of years of spending time with them and years of earning their trust and earning. So all of those things leads me to believe that yes, they can't be wrong, but they can't prove it because I have so much faith in them. I don't need to test my mother and my father's faith.
You should.
In a scientific. I have my mother and my father. Thankfully have been amazing. They've been there for me my entire life, and I honestly owe them a debt of gratitude.
So you have evidence for the character of your parents.
What you should be doing is proportioning your confidence to the evidence. So there are people that I've met in my life, a couple of people, I won't name them, who were both very good friends of mine, and I trusted both of them very much. And it turns out both of them were megalomaniacal, narcissistic, sociopathic liars who were taking advantage of me, and I did not know that was going on until I had sufficient evidence for it. So when I say that I love someone and trust someone, I'm also saying, to the extent that I understand them, I understand this to be the character they've represented to me. I have another friend who's never done anything wrong to me, and we have a mutual friend who keeps warning me, don't spend time with that guy because he's going to talk trash about you behind your back and he's going to be terrible. But I haven't seen evidence of that, and I have to understand that this is maybe a conflict between their interpersonal relationship. The fact that I'm reaching a conclusion based on the available evidence is not a problem, because my conclusion is tentative, subject to revision, and I'm only as confident as the evidence for it. And so where I completely trusted one person, as soon as I started getting information, all of a sudden my trust in them declines. But what you're doing is saying, I'm just going to trust that this is the case. I can't demonstrate it. A bunch of people around me think the same thing, and I love them, and it seems to be helpful and useful to me, but I can't demonstrate it. But I'm going to live my life according to these edicts, even though I don't know that they're true. That is a problem for me. And I don't understand why it's not a problem for anybody who cares about truth.
You know, there's a song by Bon Jovi and by Poison, the 80s metal band. Then again, I'm a huge fan of that too. So there's a song by them. Both of them sound the same title but different way of singing it. Something to believe in.
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is, people everywhere all the world need something to believe in, because somehow or the other everyone is lost. Everybody needs to find some sort of thing to be confident about. So when you pray to somebody, it gives you some sort of confidence that there's someone out there listening to me, and maybe it gives you. You see, in this.
Now we're back to the thing that you mentioned in the last call and this call. I don't give a rat's ass if praying to a fictional God makes you feel better. I care about whether or not the God is fictional or not. I fully acknowledge that people can feel better after rubbing a lucky rabbit's foot, after putting on their lucky socks, after spinning in circles 3 times or knocking on wood. Those are things that are superstition. I care about whether or not they're true. People don't.
Oh my damn, it's getting fucking paint everywhere. Alright guys, we'll wrap it up for this evening stream. Did get a little bit done. Definitely coming along nicely. I'm hungry. Somebody go eat. Don't leave the brushes in the water. Get with y'all next time. That light is already out. Alright, peace guys.